The wind howled like a wild animal outside the hangar, rattling the steel walls as snow fell in thick, blinding sheets. Inside, huddled beneath layers of grease-stained flannel and a navy jumpsuit, sat Lily Carter, elbows deep in the guts of a grounded rescue helicopter. Her fingers, rough from years of wrenching bolts and fixing engines, moved with practiced precision. She was the kind of person most overlooked, the woman behind the scenes who made the heroics possible. She wasn't the one flying into danger. She was the one keeping the chopper from falling out of the sky. At 32, Lily had spent nearly a decade working for the North Ridge Search and Rescue Base in Montana. She didn't have a pilot's license, at least, not an official one. She'd learned by watching, by absorbing every word the pilots threw around during coffee breaks, by sitting in the cockpit after hours, memorizing every dial, every switch, every hesitation in the controls. Flying wasn't her job. It was her dream. One she'd buried beneath bills, responsibilities, and the echo of her father's voice telling her, "Girls don't fly helicopters. They fix 'em." On that freezing January morning, no one expected anything unusual. But the emergency call changed everything. Twin hikers, trapped on Deer Ridge. Snow came fast. One of them's unconscious. They're not going to last the night. The entire rescue team scrambled into action. But within minutes, a problem arose: both of their certified pilots were grounded. Ethan had slipped on ice the day before and fractured his wrist. Laura was stuck 2 towns over, roads blocked by snow. The base commander, Chief Mendez, stared at the grounded chopper with a look of panic. "We have no pilot. And this storm, it's worsening by the hour." Silence fell over the room. Everyone looked at Lily, who was wiping her hands on a towel, pretending not to hear. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. "Lily," Mendez finally said, "you've worked on this chopper more than anyone. You said you've flown in the simulators." She nodded slowly. "I've logged hundreds of hours. But I'm not certified." "Right now," he said, voice low but urgent, "we don't need certified. We need brave. Can you get that bird to the ridge and back?" Lily looked up through the hangar doors. The blizzard outside wasn't just a storm, it was a monster. But somewhere out there, 2 people were freezing to death. She thought about her brother, who died in an avalanche 6 years ago, waiting for help that came too late. "I can do it," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes. I'll do it." No one argued. There was no time. By the time the rotors roared to life and lifted the chopper into the white sky, Lily's hands were trembling. The controls felt different in her grip, heavier, more real than they ever had in the simulator. But muscle memory kicked in. Her breathing steadied. She climbed higher, following the GPS coordinates and praying they were right. Visibility was nearly 0. Ice crept across the windshield. Winds rocked the helicopter so hard it felt like flying through a storm of fists. Still, Lily pushed forward. Every moment, every decision was life or death. 15 minutes in, the warning light for low fuel blinked. The rescue chopper had been scheduled for a refill that morning, one that hadn't happened yet. She was flying blind, low on fuel, into a storm with no guarantee of return. Fear clawed at her. But then she heard it, faint over the radio, "Hello. This is Nick. We're here. We see the helicopter. Please, help us." Tears welled in her eyes. She wasn't just flying anymore. She was saving lives. She spotted the orange tarp barely visible through the snow. 2 tiny figures huddled in a clearing. Lily hovered as close as she dared. Landing wasn't an option, the snow was too deep. She'd have to hover low and use the winch. She activated the auto-hover and slid into the back, clipping herself in. She operated the winch herself, lowering the harness, guiding one hiker up, barely conscious, face blue with cold. Then the second, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Are you the pilot?" he gasped. She nodded. "I'm the mechanic." 10 minutes later, they were in the air again, flying through chaos. But this time, the return wasn't as lucky. The fuel light turned red. Warning systems blared. The engine coughed. Lily knew they wouldn't make it back to base. She scanned the snow-covered ground for a clearing, any place to land. She spotted a frozen lake, remembered it from maps. It was solid enough, probably. She descended carefully, landing with a hard thump that jolted the cabin. But they were alive. She activated the distress beacon, wrapped the hikers in thermal blankets, and stayed by them through the long, frozen night. By morning, a second rescue team arrived. Lily and the hikers were alive, frostbitten but breathing. News spread quickly. Headlines buzzed. Mechanic flies solo rescue mission through blizzard. Unsung hero risks all to save lives. At the hospital, Lily was offered a steaming cup of coffee and a chair she didn't have to fix. A nurse patted her hand. "They said you saved their lives." She looked down at her grease-stained nails, suddenly self-conscious. "They saved mine too," she whispered. 2 weeks later, the FAA granted her an honorary emergency flight certification. 2 months after that, she passed every test with flying colors. She was no longer just the mechanic. She was the pilot. But she never stopped fixing the chopper. Never stopped getting her hands dirty. She believed a true hero didn't need a title, they just needed heart. Years later, a little girl would tug on Lily's sleeve at a school assembly and say, "I want to fly like you someday." Lily knelt down, smiling. "You will. And when you do, promise me something." "What?" "Be ready to fly into the storm. Because that's where heroes are needed most." And the girl nodded, eyes shining with the belief that maybe, just maybe, the person who fixed things could also be the one to save the day.